Hey everyone. I just finished this really cool book
Oh, yeah.
called Leading Outside Your Comfort Zone,
Mhm.
and I just knew I had to talk about it with you. It really got me thinking about how we deal with all those challenges, the tough stuff,
Mhm.
and how we can actually become better leaders.
I think I read that one too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It really made me think about
I
things,
know, right?
even though I don't really work in like a traditional leader role.
That's what's so great about this book.
Hmm.
It's not just for CEOs or managers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It basically says we're all leaders in
Mm.
some way,
Right.
whether it's at work or with our families or even just in our own lives.
Yeah. And like it doesn't try to sugarcoat things either. It talks
Okay.
about all the psychology stuff like resilience and how
Wow.
we can use those like tough emotion, like anxiety or even frustration
Right.
and make them work for us.
Okay, but how do you actually do that?
Yeah.
It seems kind of weird to embrace those icky feelings.
Totally. But the book makes a really good point. It's saying that these emotions, they're like signals. They can show us where we need to grow and adapt.
So instead of running away from those feelings, we should use them to become tougher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just about getting over those big setbacks. It's
Yeah.
like this positive resilience thing where every challenge, even the small annoying ones,
Yeah. Yeah.
they become chances to learn and get better.
It's like turning those bad experiences into something good.
Yeah, totally. The book has all these real life stories too, like R.A. Dickey,
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
the baseball pitcher. He spent years working on that crazy knuckleball, even though everyone doubted him.
And that's like what happens to so many people who are already really good at something.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want to learn new things because it means being bad at it for a while.
It's tough for people who are used to being the best.
That's where that improvement matrix thing comes in.
Yeah.
Really helped me see where I'm at in different parts of my life.
Tell me about it. That part was like a light bulb moment for me.
It lays out these 4 different ways to be. You've got stagnation, deliberate learning, peak performance, and then optimized improvement.
I think I've been stuck in that peak performance thing, afraid to push myself because I don't want to fail.
Me too. We get to a certain level, and then we're scared to mess it up by trying something new.
The book really makes you think about that fear, though. It
Yeah.
says that real growth happens when you embrace learning, even if it means feeling uncomfortable or making mistakes.
So how do we actually do that? How do we get over that fear?
Well, the book has these 5 strategies, and one that really got to me was the tiered goal setting.
Oh, I loved that part.
Yeah.
It's such a good way to deal with procrastination and those big, overwhelming goals.
Yeah. So instead of having this massive goal, you break it down into 3 levels.
Okay.
You've got initiating, enhancing, and then optimizing.
It's like taking baby steps to reach the top of the mountain.
Exactly. The
Mhm.
initiating part is all about just starting, getting over that hump.
So instead of saying I'm going to write a whole book, you'd say I'm just going to write for 15 minutes every day.
Right. It's about making it easy to start. Then with enhancing, you push yourself a little more.
Yeah.
You challenge yourself and improve your skills.
And then optimizing is where you really go for it.
Right. You use everything you've learned to reach your peak.
This tiered goal thing really helps because I'm one of those all or nothing people.
Yeah, I get
If I can't do it perfectly, I don't want to do it at
its
all.
approach makes it a lot less scary.
And it ties into this other big idea in the book, the whole social support thing.
Oh, yeah.
Having someone to help you out, a mentor or a friend or even a coach.
It makes such a difference when things get tough.
Yeah. And speaking of tough things, the book talks about how our focus is limited. It's so easy to get distracted with all this stuff going on.
This is where that chronotype thing comes in.
Chronotype. Now, that's something I need you to explain.
So it's about realizing that everyone has different times when they're most focused.
Good.
Some people are morning people, some are night owls.
You mean like our natural sleep patterns?
Yeah, exactly. The book says we should try to do our hardest work when we have the most energy.
That makes a lot of sense.
It seems simple, but it can really help you focus.
This book is great. It gives you all this practical advice, and then it goes deep into the psychology of leadership and resilience.
It's not just some abstract idea, it's giving you tools you can actually use.
So what else really stood out to you?
Wow.
Anything that really made you think?
Well, there's this one story I want to tell you about,
Okay.
but I don't want to spoil it for everyone listening.
That's right. We'll let them discover it themselves.
But it involves this really famous actor, and it's about how they made a really surprising career change.
Oh, now I'm curious.
It's a great example of how trying new things can lead to amazing results.
So we've talked about embracing discomfort, understanding that improvement matrix thing, tiered goal setting, and the whole social support thing.
And we've only scratched the surface.
There's so much more in this book about mindset and self-talk and practicing new skills.
Great book.
We'll be back in a bit to keep talking about leading outside your comfort zone, so stick around.
One of the things that really stood out to me was how important mindset is.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
The book talks about how what we believe about ourselves can really affect how we grow.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just about like being positive all the time. It's more about having a growth mindset
Okay.
where you believe you can always learn and get better.
So instead of seeing challenges as like roadblocks,
Hmm.
we should see them as chances to learn.
Right. And the book doesn't just tell you to think happy thoughts. It gives you actual ways to change your thinking.
Like what?
Well, one thing that stood out to me was cognitive reappraisal.
What's that?
It's like when you decide to look at a tough situation in a different way.
Okay.
So instead of freaking out about a deadline, you could see it as a chance to prove you can handle pressure.
Oh, I see.
You're not pretending it's easy. You're just changing how you think about it.
The book also talks about how we talk to ourselves.
Yeah, that little voice in your head can be your best friend or your worst enemy.
We don't always realize how much it affects us.
Right. The book says we need to pay attention to that voice and challenge those negative thoughts.
Like be nicer to ourselves.
Yeah, treat yourself like you treat a friend.
And try to replace those bad thoughts with good ones.
It's crazy how much of a difference that can make.
It's like we can control our own reality with our thoughts.
Speaking of control, the book talks about deliberate practice.
Oh yeah, that was interesting. It made me rethink how I learn new things.
So it's not just doing the same thing over and over. It's about finding those challenges and pushing yourself.
So you're not just putting in the time, you're really focusing on getting better.
Right. And it's important to get feedback from people who know what they're doing
The book also says to break down big skills into smaller parts.
and practice those parts really intentionally.
It's kind of like what we talked about before with learning versus performing.
Yeah, when we're focused on being good at something, we don't always want to learn new things.
But to really improve, we have to be okay with being a beginner again.
And be okay with making mistakes.
I've always loved learning new things.
Me too.
But this book made me realize I don't always do it the right way.
We often think talent is something you're born with.
Yeah, like you either have it or you don't.
But this book says it's more about hard work and practice.
So instead of getting discouraged, we should focus on getting better.
And that brings us back to leading outside our comfort zones.
Right. It's not just about success. It's about growing and learning.
Becoming more resilient and better at everything we do.
The book really makes it clear that leadership is a journey, not a destination.
And there will be bumps along the way.
But those bumps are what make us stronger.
One of the best things about this book is that it says we can all be leaders.
Yeah, it's not about your job title or anything.
It's about inspiring people, making things better, and doing something meaningful.
We can all do that.
Absolutely. No matter where we are in life.
You know, as we're talking, I keep thinking about that story you mentioned.
Oh, right. The one about the actor.
Yeah, I'm still curious.
I really want to tell you, but I don't want to spoil it.
You're doing a good job resisting.
It's a great story about how taking a chance can lead to something amazing.
Sounds like it really captures what this book is all about.
It does. And I think anyone who's ever felt stuck will relate to it.
So today we talked about mindset and self-talk and practicing new skills.
And how important it is to feel uncomfortable sometimes.
We just scratched the surface of this book.
There's so much more to learn.
We'll be back soon to finish our deep dive into leading outside your comfort zone. We've been talking about all the great stuff in leading outside your comfort zone, all those tips for becoming better leaders.
Yeah, it's full of really helpful advice.
As we're wrapping up, I keep thinking about that story you mentioned, you know, the one with the famous actor.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to tell it now.
Okay, go for it.
So the book talks about Tom Hanks
Uh-huh.
and how he would choose roles that were like really different for him, you know?
Yeah, I remember that.
Like he didn't want to play the same kind of character all the time.
You want to challenge himself.
Exactly. He could have just kept doing those funny guy roles.
Probably made a ton of money.
But he wanted to try new things, even if it meant feeling uncomfortable.
And it totally worked. He won those 2 Oscars for roles that were so different from what people expected.
It just shows you that pushing yourself can lead to amazing things.
This whole conversation has made me realize this book isn't just about leadership in the traditional way.
I know what you mean.
It's bigger than that.
It's about taking control of your life and trying new things.
And becoming a better version of yourself.
Yeah, realizing that being uncomfortable is actually a good thing.
It helps you grow.
If you're feeling stuck, this book can really help.
I'm feeling pretty inspired after talking about all this.
Me too. This book has really changed how I think about leadership.
I'm going to start using some of these ideas in my own life.
I think our listeners will too. If you're interested in this stuff, you should definitely check out Leading Outside Your Comfort Zone.
We'll put a link in the show notes.
And we want to hear from you. What did you think of this episode?
Have you ever done something that pushed you outside your comfort zone?
Tell us about it in the comments.
We love hearing from you guys.
And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more deep dives.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.